We're really happy to have you here, and we look forward to hearing your presentation.
The first thing I'm going to talk about is the rise of hateism. Look, we're constantly trying to get a handle on hate. We commissioned a survey of 5,026 adults in 5 markets: Brazil, France, South Africa, South Korea, and the US. What we learned was that most respondents, or 70%, report that the level of hate and hate speech in their country has increased over the past 2 years, with agreements level ranging from a low of 67% in the US to a high of 77% in Brazil. 43% of respondents say they encounter hateful speech, whether it's online or in person, at least once a week. So I share that data as a backdrop because I think we are living in a climate that is increasingly chaotic. I so disagree with you. I'm going to stay in my echo chamber and my little bubble. As communicators, that is the toughest moment for us, because if you can't get someone to engage in a constructive dialogue, you can't even come to that place. I'm going to agree to respectfully disagree. We've lost that sense of sportsmanship. I want to talk about the lack of personal privacy today. It's something that people who live in the public eye have always experienced. But I think what's changed today is your every man and every woman working in the communications field and far beyond is subject to a real lack of privacy. You can find out almost anything about almost anyone if you are expert with search engines. There's very, very little we can't find. And I think that translates into a feeling that we are constantly 24/7, 365, all living in the public eye. The fact that we don't really have any private space, I think, puts a heavy burden on people that work in the communications, in the public affairs, in the regulatory environment. We are constantly public persona. Let's go to the next slide. Life and work are blending and blurring is increasingly more important, especially when you go back to the rise of hateism, when you go back to think about our loss of personal privacy. But most of us have been working at least partially or largely remotely since sometime in March of 2020. What we've done is we've blended our home lives, we've blended our work lives, and we don't know when to turn off. And I do think that we have now entered a new realm where we're not going to dictate to people their exact work hours of the day, because their lives and their work are so inextricably blended as we move into a hybrid lifestyle. And this is just such a different conversation, and one that I think really changes both how we recruit and develop and retain talent, because suddenly culture is now culture mediated by a computer interface. We can move on to the next slide. This one really scares me: corporate isolation. I think today we need to argue, especially in this hybrid world, that people really need to ask themselves, are they growing, learning, changing, developing new skills, developing new contexts, developing an increasing worldview when they stay put? And yet it's more frightening than ever before to make a jump, because I can't believe the difficulties people have had onboarding since COVID really began. I really do think they have to ask themselves, what are the risks of becoming a lifer? Are we spending too long being too comfortable in a job? How long is the right amount of time to spend with one company? How long is the right amount of time to spend on one job? On to the next slide. And I think that we all have to face this dilemma of, is our profession the profession of a function? And do we develop and nurture and enhance those skills? At what point do those skills lead you into general management? There are wonderful, meaningful jobs all the way to the top, but do we keep moving through those jobs, or do we go over to a different functional area? Do we make our commitment to an industry? I realize this is going to become, as we move forward into the near future, a real dilemma that people need to ask themselves. Is it worth it to take that jump to translate to another industry and to stay in the communication space? Or if you're truly ambitious, do you stay on that hierarchical battle to try to grab one of the top jobs? A quick thank you. I think that all of us who are liaising with external publics as well as internal publics oftentimes forget the importance of internal stakeholders, that the first people you need to carry with you when you're developing a narrative, when you're rolling out a platform, when you're looking to engage with an external world. I don't think up till now we ever saw internal communications as the front line in corporate transformation. So I want to urge all of you just to keep that in mind as you're formulating your own plans. And with that, I'll say thank you.